Welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Palicki and Jacob Liberta. This is going to be part 2 of our Gopher football preview, and we're going to be breaking down the schedule with our resident Gophers expert, Jackson Lefebvre, back for part 2. So let's jump right into it, Jackson. Obviously, there's some big games on the schedule, starting off with Ohio State week 1. At least it's a home game. How are you feeling about the schedule, how it's kind of shaken out, and what our biggest games are going to be?
I know I like the schedule overall. I mean, it's really just going to be about, just our experienced guys, just especially on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think we have the opportunity to steal a few on the road, just given our experience. But I love Ohio State right off the bat, especially with our experience. We're at home. I love the tone that this game can set. Even if we lose, I think it will, we'll get so much more experience right off the bat. Whereas once we get more into the season, we play guys like teams like Nebraska or Purdue who has not played against Ohio State yet. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a real advantage for us. But I think we have a shot at beating Ohio State, and I love to even just kind of touch on a couple key factors of that game to start out with, just because it's coming up so quickly already. So right off the bat, Ohio State doesn't have Justin Fields anymore. He's not in the Bears. They have a redshirt freshman as C.J. Stroud, I believe it's pronounced.
That sounds right. Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, yeah. He's not thrown a pass yet in a college game, but he's a Ohio State quarterback. The guy has talent, and he has a couple of wide receivers that are tried and true. Chris Olave is still on the team. Yep. He basically could have went to the NFL last year.
He definitely could have
easily, but that's a true NFL player, on Ohio State that, our backs are going to have to, Coney Durr and others are going to have to try to track down. Mm-hmm. But overall, I mean, I'm excited. I think we can actually compete up front with this team. I just hope, the hunt's going to be rocking, and I think we have a shot at, pulling this one off. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of those points you just made. I think there's a real opportunity there to get the season started with a bang. Like, Gophers aren't usually a team that gets to start the slate off with a Big Ten game like that, especially as big as like hosting the number 4 team in the nation at home. But I think it could really set the tone, as you mentioned in our last video, Jackson, that I think if we can win this game, man, who knows what the possibilities are here for the season and this team.
Yeah, exactly. So we start out with Ohio State, then we move into a couple, quote unquote cupcakes that we go. But the thing is, we also play Colorado. That's a Pac-12. That's a solid major power conference school. We're on the road there. Mm-hmm. I was looking into a little bit of Colorado last year. They were supposed to be really bad, but they actually turned out to be okay. Mm-hmm. So I think there's kind of a middle of the pack Pac-12 team. And we're going to be on the road, that high elevation. Who knows what's going to happen? So that could be a tricky game. But we have the experience, we have the talent, we should win still. But yeah, there's a couple other games that I'd love to touch upon also in the Big Ten season. So this overall, this schedule is going to be super exciting. A bunch of fun games ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, totally agree. Now, what's the next game you're kind of looking for here past the non-conference slate that we'll have there after week 1?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple others I touched upon. Ohio State. Another one is obviously Iowa. Yes. Iowa is ranked in the preseason poll. It's preseason rankings, but they're still ranked. They have a lot of experience. They have their quarterback coming back, Spencer Petras, I believe his name is. They don't have a couple wide receivers. They have Amir Smith-Marset is on the Vikings now. He's not on their team. Brandon Smith, apparently he was a good wide receiver for them, and he's off the team. But again, this is a standard Iowa team. These guys pound the rock, and they'll be tough. Although I believe are we at home against them this year? I think no.
I think we're going to be on the road.
We're on the road because I remember in 2019 we lost to them in that big game. So I think we're on. So that's going to be a really tough game. That I even though I am a homer, I would expect that to be a loss just because
it's kind of like won there in 20 years.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Vikings-Bears dynamic. It's just they always struggle against Iowa for some reason.
Yeah. So that's a tough game. Another kind of fun game that's coming up later is Indiana. So, historically, you would think that would be a win just because Indiana has not really had a historically good football program. But last year, they had a great breakout season.
Yeah.
They have their breakout quarterback from last year.
Penix Jr.
Yeah, Penix Jr. He tore his ACL towards the end of the season, but apparently he's healthy again. That's gonna be a really tough game as well. Are we on the road there, or are we at home for that one? Do you know?
Let me take a look here real quick. It looks like for Indiana, we're gonna have them on the road the second to last week of the season.
Okay, that's gonna be. I see Iowa is on the road as well. That's gonna be a really
tough end of the season.
Yeah, we have Iowa, Indiana, and Wisconsin. The last 3 games, so
that's a tough finish.
So that's why we're gonna have to really rack up wins early on this season and get confidence. That's why that Ohio State game is really a key game, just to get on the right foot, set the tone early. So that's gonna be really tough. If we can even go 1-2 those last 3 games, although I have high expectations for this team. I have Rose Bowl expectations for this team almost. So I think we're gonna have to go 2-1 at least, if not 3-0 to make the Rose Bowl. But we have the capabilities. Again, we have arguably the most experienced team in the Big Ten. So we should win these games.
Honestly, if we can win against Iowa and Wisconsin, like you mentioned, 2 out of 3 those last 3 games of the season, especially against those 2 teams, if we can win against them, I don't see any pathway where we don't win the Big Ten West. I think that's the biggest thing. And that puts us in the Big Ten Conference Championship game. And then you're playing for a spot either in the Rose Bowl or potentially, if you're having a good enough season, you maybe beat Ohio State off the bat. All of a sudden, you're talking about the playoff. And that's kind of mind-boggling for me as a Gopher fan. How long we've been watching.
Do you guys think, though, like if the Gophers had the same record, even if they had beaten Ohio State earlier in the season, do you really think the committee would put them in over Ohio State, though?
If we what happened, you're saying?
So say you had the same record as Ohio State, but you had beaten them.
Okay.
Do you think the committee would really put you in over them? Because I don't know about that.
It depends how we come across that win. If it seems really fluky, then not. But if we put them in the dirt, then I'm saying they'd put us in.
Okay. I mean, obviously this is a pipe dream most likely, but
I love the hypothetical.
Yeah, getting into expectations for the season, Jackson already kind of touched on it. You think they have Rose Bowl potential. What do you see their record being this year?
Yeah, so I've seen some kind of the standard kind of money line, or not money line, but the standard kind of benchmark win total that Vegas has set. I believe it is at 7. So so that's where it's kind of under over.
Yep.
A lot of the mainstream people are saying the safe bet is to go under.
Oh, wow.
That's cold.
I believe me. I watched some guy, some mainstream reporter saying to hit the under. I'm slamming that over on 7 wins. This team is at least 8-4. At least 8-4. 8-4 gets you a solid bowl that maybe another Outback Bowl appearance. Just a great program building bowl. So fun to get all the alumni down in Florida, or some other bowl. New Year's Day bowl. But I really have Rose Bowl expectations for this team. Let's finally go to Pasadena again. It hasn't been since the 60s.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I think we can do it. We just gotta lean on our ground and pound attack, lean on our experience, and I think we can really do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm quite as bullish on the Gophers as you are. I definitely see an 8-win team for sure, 8 or 9 wins. Obviously, Ohio State, that's a tough one to expect to win.
Yes.
And Wisconsin and Iowa, it just feels like they're going to trip up one of those games as well for sure. And just having that end of the season stretch against Iowa and Indiana on the road, and then you come home to play Wisconsin, it's cold out. Last game of the season, everyone's kind of worn down. That could be just kind of an ugly, grinded out Big Ten style game. So I don't know if I see Rose Bowl, but I mean, I get the optimism compared to last season at least.
Absolutely. Like Jackson said, I'd love to get there for the first time in 50 years because I think the energy around it for, like you mentioned, you keep bringing up the culture and the program building, that'd be huge because then that would help you get on the recruiting trail. PJ's a pretty raw guy, and being in the Rose Bowl, that puts us just directly in the spotlight, and I think that really boomed this program into a potential playoff contender in years to come here.
You know what? So win total, I'm going to say 9 wins for this team.
Okay.
9 wins. And I don't really know. It's hard to say. It's college football. It's a little bit more unpredictable than sometimes than even the professional sports. I'm going to say 9 wins. But heck, you know what? As a true Gopher fan, if we lose all of our games but beat Wisconsin and Iowa, I'll be happy. The first game my freshman year at the U of M, we played some cupcake. I forget who we played. And the entire student section was chanting, "We hate Iowa" during some cupcake game. And then we were walking down the stands of TCF after the game. Everyone was chanting, "We hate Iowa." And like, this is a tone setter. We hate Iowa. And we also hate Wisconsin. So if we win those 2 games but lose the rest, heck, I'll be happy too.
Yeah. I mean, so if very quickly here before we wrap up, if you could only beat one of them, would you rather beat Ohio State or Wisconsin?
Oh,
Wisconsin, without a doubt. Well,
I don't know.
yes, Wisconsin.
The history is there, but
Yeah.
I think just that I just have a really boiled down hatred for Wisconsin. Just from not even like a sports standpoint, I just really do not like the university or the program in general. I do not like all their sports across the board.
That's fair.
I think they are really just kind of uppity, kind of entitled, just overall or just overall university, and they think that I just think that this is coming from obviously a Gopher fan, but I think they think they're like the Harvard of the Big Ten when they're not at all. The U of M is very on par with Wisconsin, and they're just and obviously they steal all our recruits and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a boiled down just historic hatred from that my alumni father has even instilled in me, and hopefully I'll pass on to my kids someday. So Wisconsin, without a doubt, even though it'd be fun to beat Ohio State too. Why not both?
Yeah, I would absolutely love it if they were able to beat both. But there you have it, folks. Hammer the over on the 7 wins. They're winning 9, according to our experts. So that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Thank you for coming on, Jack Daddy.
yes,
Of course.
Good to have you. We'll have to have you
great.
on during the season as well to get some perspective on what's going on.
Love to.
Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already as well, and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram, and drop a comment below about what you think about this Gophers schedule.